Thank you for joining today's online travel presentation, where we will talk about the best Glacier National Park vacations. My name is Lynn, and I am pleased to be your moderator for this presentation. We understand that now is not an easy time to travel, but it is the perfect time to start researching destinations and planning your next trip. So thank you for being here. Before we start, I'd like to take care of two little bits of housekeeping. The first is that we will hold all questions until the end. If you have questions during the presentation, please type them in the question box in the GoToWebinar toolbar, and we will cover them at the end of the webinar. And last, there will be two polling questions during the presentation, and of course, we encourage you to participate. So let's get started. As I mentioned, I am Lynn, and I'll be your moderator, and I am pleased to introduce Bridget, one of our fantastic rail specialists. So now that you know us, we'd like to get to know you through one of our polling questions, which is, have you ever visited Glacier National Park? So go ahead and give us your answers there. We'll keep this open for about 30 seconds. All right. Looks as though the majority of our attendees have answered, so I'm going to close the poll. And it looks as though about 33% of you have visited Glacier at least once. I'm sure you know what a special destination it is, and I know Bridget is going to shed some light on some of the unique things to see and do. But before we jump into that, I want to share a bit about Vacations by Rail. We are the leading rail vacations company in the United States and the trusted authority on rail. Vacations by Rail offers the largest selection of vacations to destinations around the globe, and the cornerstone of each of our vacations is a journey aboard at least one of the world's iconic trains. We're a member of the National Tour Association, American Bus Association. We are also AARP's preferred rail provider. And Vacations by Rail is a great rail journeys company, which means we're backed by more than 45 years of experience in the specialty of global rail tours. In addition to unmatched vacations, we offer best-in-class customer care from your first call or email to your return from your trip. Now, there's little doubt traveling by rail is a unique experience, and pairing it with one of the country's beloved national parks makes for an extra special vacation. Here's how. Getting to Glacier by train is very efficient. You're traveling aboard Amtrak's Empire Builder from Chicago, Seattle, or points in between, which means you're leaving the driving to someone else as you step aboard the train, settle into your onboard accommodations, and embark on a classic overnight rail adventure. Now, the national parks and the railroads have a strong tie, and Glacier National Park is no exception. In Glacier, we stay in historic lodges built by the railways a century ago, which makes for a very full circle moment. And taking the train is the eco-friendly way to travel. Trains create less carbon emissions than other modes of transportation, and after traveling in an environmentally friendly manner, you can embark on a variety of outdoor explorations which help you to appreciate the nature preserved within Glacier National Park. Now, if you've attended a webinar I've moderated, you know I like fun facts. So here are some of my favorite little nuggets about Glacier National Park. Since 1932, Glacier has been joined with Waterton Lakes National Park in Canada, thus establishing the first international World Peace Park. The species of wildlife found in Glacier National Park is virtually unchanged from when the park was first discovered. Now, you'll hear Glacier called the crown of the continent. This is due to its extensive and diverse flora and fauna. Did you know Glacier National Park has a symbol, or as I like to think of it, a mascot? It's true. The mountain goat is a symbol of the park, and if you visit Goat Lick Overlook, you'll see firsthand why this is the case. And lastly, wooden boat tours have been a staple of Glacier National Park since the 1920s, and they are genuinely one of the very best ways to immerse yourself in the beauty of the park. And we do include some of these boat rides on our vacations. Now, I'm happy to hand over the reins to Bridget, who will tell you about some of the best Glacier National Park vacations.
Thanks, Lynn. All right, so we are going to start by discussing the Empire Builder route. And this is one of America's most iconic rail routes that is followed by Amtrak's legendary Empire Builder train. Traveling between Chicago and Seattle or Portland, it follows a pioneer route that today highlights America's cityscapes and natural beauty as it courses through the northern prairies. All right, and then so essentially the train is a double-decker superliner train, and in addition to the dining cars serving a selection of hot and cold menu items for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it also has a glass-walled sightseer lounge and of course your choice of onboard accommodations to suit any traveler's taste or budget. So some of the different options that may include would be either a coach seat, or you could upgrade to a roomette sleeping accommodation, which will have an upper and lower berth by night, 2 chairs by day, and a large picture window with shared bathroom facilities on the train car, or you can upgrade further to the bedroom, which will have private bathroom facilities. All right, and so the first tour that we are going to discuss is called America's Great National Parks. And this one is one of our most popular tours. So it is a 14-day fully escorted tour, and it's of America's West, and you're able to discover 5 of America's beloved national parks. You'll start your tour with a classic overnight rail adventure on board the Empire Builder, following the pioneer route to Big Sky Country. Here we visit the first national park of the itinerary, which is Glacier National Park. And here, glorious spectacles of nature and the famed Going to the Sun Road are just some of the sights that you'll be able to behold before we continue on to Yellowstone National Park for a 2-night stay. We see all of the most popular attractions here, of course, including the upper and lower falls and the most famous site of all, Old Faithful. The adventure continues as we head to the resort town of Jackson Hole and the picturesque landscape of the Grand Teton National Park. Finally, a visit to Utah brings us to Salt Lake City, the Red Rocks of Moab, and the natural wonders of Arches and Canyonlands National Parks. So this one, like I said, is a 14-day, it's fully escorted, begins in Chicago, or if you prefer, you can start in Seattle, and it'll end in Grand Junction. And then here we just have some photos. So we have an image of Snake River in the Grand Tetons National Park. And then below that, we've got Swift Current Lake. And then we've got Glacier National Park up in the right-hand corner. And below that, we've got Dead Horse State Park. Of course, that's Arches in the middle there. And then the Red Jammer buses on the Going to the Sun Road within Glacier National Park next to that. All right, and so the highlights of this tour are definitely going to be the stays within the national parks. So for here, you have overnight stays within both Glacier and Yellowstone, and it visits a total of 5 national parks, including Glacier. And another highlight, of course, is going to be the Going to the Sun Road aboard the vintage Red Jammer buses, the Swift Current Lake Boat cruise within Glacier, and the Snake River float trip, and then the Dead Horse Point State Park. All right, and the next tour that we're going to discuss is Lodges of Glacier National Park. And there are 2 things that make this vacation extra special. One of that would be stays in several of Glacier National Park's historic lodges, and the fact that this is locally hosted. So this travel style is perfect for people who like to venture off and explore on their own, setting their own pace and exploring on their own, with the benefit of having a Vacations by Rail local host on site with them. So the local host can assist in recommending activities, dining, or answering any questions about the national park during your tour. All right, so this is an 8-day locally hosted trip. It begins in either, again, Chicago or Seattle, based on your preference, and it's going to end in East Glacier. And then we have some photos to give you some more information about this trip. So this is going to be one of America's most treasured areas. Glacier National Park is brimming with natural beauty. So from the alpine meadows to the tall, rugged mountains, each scene is more stunning than the next. You're going to take it all in on special tours of Glacier Park's historical lodges, and each charming lodge has its own unique characteristics, from resembling the Swiss village to the original home of the Blackfeet tribe. One thing they all have in common, though, is their comfort and integration of the surrounding park, of course. So you'll be able to take in mountain views in one, and wildlife, as well as lake views from your memorable time in the crown of the continent. And some of the images that we have here are going to be of Lake McDonald Lodge, the Empire Builder, Amtrak, you can see that running on the track, and then some images of Many Glacier and just some different images of the park. Some of the highlights for this tour are definitely going to be staying at the historic lodges. So one of the lodges is going to be Many Glacier Hotel, which is the largest lodge in the park, and it's a historic gem. The hotel was built in 1914 by the Great Northern Railway, and its grand history is evident in the Swiss Lounge and ptarmigan dining room. Tucked away on the shores of the Swift Current Lake, it's a 5-story hotel that provides private views over the park. Guest rooms are comfortable but maintain an old world feel, allowing visitors to connect with the location. And then another historic lodge that we're going to be visiting is Glacier Park Lodge. This was also built by the Great Northern Railway, and the site of Glacier Park Lodge was purchased from a tribe of the Blackfeet Nation. And when the hotel was opened, hundreds of members of the Blackfeet Nation gathered on the grounds for a celebration. And the original timber is still in place, which is pretty amazing, as it's thought to be around 900 years old. And then aside from, of course, gazing at the mountain views from your room, you can enjoy the lodge's restaurant, bar, espresso stand. You can take a swim in the outdoor pool, play golf on the 9-hole course, or relax in the spa. All right, our next itinerary is one of our most popular independent itineraries, and this one is the Empire Builder with Glacier National Park. And while popular in its original routing from Chicago or Seattle, or from Chicago to Seattle or the reverse, this itinerary can be taken round trip from Chicago or round trip from Seattle. So there's a lot of versatility depending on what's most convenient or interesting to you. But it is an 8-day fully independent tour. Like I said, we've got the itinerary beginning in Chicago, ending in Seattle here, but we have flexibility on that. So it's really great if you do want to do some customization. So your Glacier National Park 8-day adventure here would include 2 nights on board Amtrak's Empire Builder, as well as 2 nights each in Glacier Park Lodge and Many Glacier Lodge. So this well-planned itinerary lets you enjoy the best of Glacier National Park, with tour highlights including the Swift Current Lake Boat Cruise, and the Crown of the Continent tour. For the images here, we've got St. Mary's Lake in the top left, and then we've got a large photo of Seattle. We've got the Glacier Park entrance, the Red Jammer buses, and then some additional photos from the Going to the Sun Road. All right, and some of the highlights here are going to be the lodging in Glacier National Park, similar to what we were talking about before, staying in those historic properties, like the Glacier Park Lodge and the Many Glacier Hotel. The Going to the Sun Road aboard the vintage Red Jammer buses is definitely a top thing to do in the area, so that's certainly a highlight. And then the St. Mary's Lake Boat Cruise. All right, and then another option to consider would be the Glacier National Park and Alaska cruise. So a particularly popular add-on to a national park rail vacation is an Alaskan cruise. And essentially an Alaska cruise and a rail vacation to Glacier National Park would be, a great combination because of the location. And when you select a rail and cruise vacation, for instance, our Empire Builder, Glacier National Park, and Alaska cruise vacation, you get to experience the best of both worlds. So for this tour, you would start in Chicago, where you'll begin the 2,206-mile journey to Seattle aboard Amtrak's legendary Empire Builder. On the way, you'll stop at breathtaking Glacier National Park, of course, where you'll have a couple of days to take in the gorgeous landscape of the famous national park before continuing on to your journey to Seattle, where you'll set sail on a scenic and relaxing cruise of Alaska's Inside Passage, completing your incredible vacation. So definitely a great way to incorporate seeing the Inside Passage, and getting to see beautiful Glacier National Park. That would definitely be a way to see a lot of natural beauty in one tour. And if you are interested in upgrading your experience for any of our independent packages, we have tons of different options. So please be sure to speak with your rail specialist for any additional ideas or questions that you might have. We can upgrade train accommodations, hotels, or if you do choose to add on a cruise, we could look into upgrading different categories there as well. And that should be all that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over to Lynn for some questions.
Thanks so much, Bridget. It is time for our second polling question. So I'm going to launch that right now. It is, what type of Glacier National Park vacations are you interested in? So Bridget gave you an overview of 4 different travel styles that feature Glacier National Park. They are some of our most popular. We have an escorted trip featuring other national parks, an independent itinerary where you can explore at your own pace, locally hosted vacations, where a local host or a guide is available to assist you, and of course a rail and cruise combination trip. So we'll keep this open for a couple more seconds. It looks like most of our audience has voted. Okay, great. We're going to close the poll. And the results are in. And Bridget, it's heartening to see that you've offered options for something that appealed to everyone. But the majority of our votes went towards independent vacations, followed by escorted tours. So if you want to learn more about our Glacier National Park vacations or other itineraries to destinations around the globe, you can flip through any of our brochures online or download one to review at your leisure. And you can do so by visiting www.vacationsbyrail.com. And to book a rail vacation or just to speak with a rail specialist about Glacier National Park or any of the destinations we offer, you can call toll-free 877-929-7245 or visit us online. Regardless of how you contact us, the rail specialist who services your first call or electronic transaction is the one who will be dedicated to you until you return home from your trip. So now we are at the Q&A portion of our session. And Bridget, we have a few questions if you have time for some answers.
Sure.
Okay, the first question is, can I add extra nights in Glacier?
Yeah, so that is a great question. And we certainly can add on additional nights in Glacier National Park for our independent packages. So they definitely lend a little bit more flexibility, but if you do want to spend more time in the park, we can certainly look to add that on for any of our independent tours.
Oh, fantastic. The second question is, can I fly into Glacier National Park and take the train home?
Sure, yeah. So if you did prefer to, fly one way and take the train home one way, that is another option. We could potentially look to customize the itinerary for you to omit one of the rail segments, and then you would just have to book the, any flights independently.
Great. So lots of flexibility.
Yep.
The last question, we have time for one more. It's, can I get connecting rail from my city?
Sure. So yeah, if you don't, live in, close to Chicago or Seattle, we could definitely look to get you the connecting rail to one of those starting cities. So you could take the rail from your home city to Chicago, for instance, and then board the Empire Builder there. No problem.
Thanks, Bridget. That's all the time for questions we have. However, if you have a question and it was not answered, one of our rail specialists will receive these questions after the presentation, and they will be in touch directly with you to make sure that any questions you have are answered. So I personally want to thank you for attending our presentation, and thanks to Bridget for sharing all this great information about Glacier National Park.
Thanks, Lynn.
Have a great day.